I think you come to the Bellevue to win it. Wabash always fight.
Hello and welcome to the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. And Coach, we had a chance to talk after a really solid 48-14 victory at Wooster last Saturday. Just a tremendous game. The offense came out, scored on its first 5 offensive possessions. Worcester answered with a couple of quick scores, but then the defense just absolutely put the clamps on, held the Scots scoreless over the last 40 minutes of the ball game, where your offense continued to roll and scored on 7 of the first 8 offensive possessions of the game. Tell me about your thoughts on your team's performance on Saturday.
Well, having lost to Wooster last 2 previous meetings, it was a great motivator for our football team, number one. 2, we executed really well in all 3 phases of the game. Defensively, we shut them out. Their last, 8 drives. Pleased all the way around, and now we get ready to move on to Denison.
You mentioned solid performances in all 3 phases. Couldn't have asked for a better start, and really a complete game from junior quarterback Liam Thompson. Completed his first 10 pass attempts, finished the game 28 of 31 overall, had 3 incomplete passes. 2 of those were to avoid sacks. 1 was just off the hands of one of his receivers. Over 450 yards of total offense in the game. Just talk about his performance overall and how that just kind of seemed to lift the rest of the team.
It does. He makes our team, every bit of it, better, consistently prepared mentally to play, plays at a very high level, and makes other players around him better.
We're going to get a chance to hear from Cade Lansdell here in just a couple of minutes. Did we get the first glimpse of what this defense can be like over those final 40 minutes of the game? They pressured a good quarterback in Mateo Renteria, really seemed to keep him off his spot. He was overthrowing receivers on the back end, and Cade and I will talk about it here in a minute. There were defensive backs in the faces of all of those receivers. Cole Hissong limited to 6 catches for 37 yards. That's been a quarter for him sometimes. Sure. Is this what we can look for from this Wabash defense, what you're expecting?
I think so. And with the new defense, it's going to be a process. It's a process. It's a process. It's a process. This was stage 3 of the process.
Well, we did have a chance to talk to the defensive captain for the Little Giants, Cade Lansdell. Let's get his thoughts on his group's performance last Saturday against Wooster. You all played a team on Saturday in the College of Wooster, a 48-14 victory for the Little Giants. This was a team that was expected to put up a lot of offense. Everybody thought this was going to be a shootout between a high-powered Wabash offense and a high-powered Wooster offense. They scored 2 touchdowns in the first half, and then your defensive unit just absolutely shut them down. How much pride did your group take out of that game on Saturday to walk out of there with such a lopsided victory over the Scots?
Just tremendous pride. The whole week we wanted to work towards starting off strong, not being a second half defense. They got some scores early in the half, but then after that we laid the brakes on them and they didn't score the rest of the game. Kept them at 14 points, and that was really a strong point for our defense and a really big victory for us.
Your defense got a couple of big stops on 4th down as they were trying to continue some drives, and then probably one of the biggest plays of the game, they marched the ball down near the goal line, and the defense was able to force a turnover. I believe it was Stephen Thomas who came up with the fumble in the end zone, and you turned them aside there. That had to be a pretty special moment for the defense as well, to be able to generate that turnover and keep them out of the end zone.
Absolutely. Late in the game, we didn't want to let up off at all. Stephen Thomas, Will Olive, 2 great defensive tackles, made a huge stop, huge play, and yeah, we kept that goose egg in the second half, so it was a great victory.
Well, we mentioned that they go scoreless in the second half. They actually went scoreless over the last 40 minutes of the football game, and in the second half, the defense held Wooster to 131 yards of total offense, so an impressive performance. How has this group come together under Coach Ridings? And I want to add to that, you're a captain on the football team, you're one of the leaders on defense. You've got a lot of young players. There are a lot of freshmen playing. Gavin Rupert is one name who had a great game, led the team with 10 tackles on Saturday. What type of leadership does Coach Ridings and do you have to provide as a veteran on this defense for some of those young players?
Well, absolutely. Coach Ridings has been an absolutely amazing addition to the defense. His scheme and the way he coaches us, he motivates us so well, and I feel like his defense has just been clicking with the defense so well. His play calling and the way we blitz, the way we run coverage, I think it's starting to all come together in week 3, and it's going to continue the rest of the season. And as far as the captains go and the other leaders on the defense for that matter, it all starts in the off season and it just trickles down into the regular season. So with the morning lifts, the conditioning, I view the defense as one big family, and we're all together, and yeah.
Moving on to some of your personal numbers. 10 tackles this season, 1.5 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss. Another item I know you take a lot of pride in, 3 quarterback hurries, and we were talking a little bit earlier about the number of quarterback hurries and pressures you were able to put on a good quarterback like Mateo Renteria on Saturday. How important is that for you as part of that front line of the Little Giants to put that kind of pressure on the offense so the back end can do what they did Saturday, absolutely shutting down some receivers? They held All-American tight end Cole Hissong to only 6 catches for 37 yards. How important are those two aspects to come together, the work you do on the front line and the work that secondary does?
Absolutely. As a front line, we take pride in what we can control, and for us, that's the run game, and that's rushing the quarterback, because we don't want our back 7 to have to cover for 15 seconds. So being able to put some pressure on the quarterback, get some hits on the quarterback, make him feel a little uncomfortable in the pocket, that's definitely a key aspect of what this D-line likes to focus on. And I would just like to point out the back 7 did a phenomenal job against Wooster. Anytime there was a pass, we would always turn around, batted down, incompleted, couple almost interceptions. Hopefully we can finish those off later, but yeah, just incredibly proud of this defense.
Well, it really was a great day. They held one of the better passers in the North Coast Athletic Conference to only 17 completions, less than 200 yards, and this is after last year Renteria threw for more than 400 yards against Wabash, so great job by you in the defensive unit. Let's let people get to know you a little bit. What's your major and what are your plans after you graduate from Wabash College?
So I'm a biology major and a chemistry minor with a focus on pre-med. I'm currently in the medical school application process. Just got those applications in, waiting back on some interviews. So my plans are to go become a doctor and eventually become an orthopedic surgeon.
Fantastic. That's Cade Lansdell, member of the Wabash College defense, captain of the 2022 Little Giant football team. Those are thoughts of Cade Lansdell on the team's play last week against Wooster. Coach, as you mentioned, now we move on. A big week for Wabash students, for alumni, for Wabash students' parents. Homecoming. We've already had Chapel sing earlier today on the day that we're taping this show. All the activities of homecoming, and then a really good Denison team coming in, a team that forced your squad into overtime last year before the Little Giants came away with a 39-38 victory at Denison. What type of issues does a team like Denison under head coach Jack Hayden, what do the Big Red bring that will force some challenges for your Wabash team?
Well, they're just another really good Denison football team. They don't make mistakes. They're well coached on both sides of the ball. The Dawkins kid at quarterback, you feel like he's been playing for about 9 years, is a very good player. They have talented skill. They're extremely dangerous on special teams. They scored 21 points last week on teams alone. And then defensively, they're very good too. Solid. They don't give up any cheap touchdowns. Just well coached, and a physically fit team too.
A good balanced offensive team too. You mentioned Dawkins at quarterback. Trey Fabricini is one of the top running backs in the country, not just in the conference. So really brings a twofold attack there. And then last week, 2 punt returns for touchdown against Oberlin by one of their defensive backs, who's also a return specialist. Is dangerous on kickoffs, and saw that come into play last year with the game against Denison with the kickoff return for a touchdown to open up the second half.
We did. We need to fix that.
So what are the keys for your Little Giant team? I mean, you mentioned playing mistake-free football by Denison. That's, I'm sure, something Wabash has to do. What are some other areas that people really can focus on to see Wabash having success on Saturday?
The last few meetings, we've really struggled to run the ball against Denison. So offensively, can we move the ball on the ground? And then defensively, we would like to get off to a good start.
Those are the keys for the Little Giants against Denison. That is a home game on Saturday, which means it'll be right here at Little Giant Stadium. We hope you'll join us. Tickets are still available for that game. You can go to the Wabash Sports website at sports.wabash.edu/tickets for more information about tickets and the few remaining tailgating spots that are out there for the game. If you can't make it to the game in person, we invite you to watch us online at sports.wabash.edu/WCVN, or you can watch on the Wabash College Video Network app, available on Amazon Fire TV, on Apple TV, on Roku, or available on your tablet or smart device through either the Apple Store or Google Play. Download the app and you can watch all of the Wabash video on that app. Kickoff is at 2 p.m. The broadcast with Jim Amadon and Steve Hoffman will begin at about 1:40, 1:45 with the Don Morel Show before the opening kick. Coach, thank you so much for your time this afternoon, and best of luck on Saturday.
My pleasure.
You've been watching the Don Morel Show, your chance to hear the thoughts and comments of the head football coach of the Little Giant program. We'll talk to you next week.
I think you come to the Bellevue to win it. Wabash always fight.